I love my Sony 85mm. Pretty sure this is a 1.4. Yeah. What gets me about this is this is a $2,000 lens. That's a lot of money for a person like me who, you know, needs to do other things like, you know, pay rent and buy food and stuff. Well, if you know me at all, you know that I love film photography, and this is, you know, one of my favorite film cameras. This is the Minolta XG7, and when I purchased this camera, I bought it with the lens and some other things. And then I said, you know, I wouldn't mind having more of a portrait-y lens, and so I went on eBay and picked up one of these, and this is a 135mm lens, and the optics are great. It works really well, and you can see some of the example shots I've done with this in another video. I'll go ahead and link to it. The thing is, you know, I paid $55 for this 135mm lens. It's a 2.8. Paid 55 bucks for it. The Sony 85mm, $2,000 lens. The camera's a $2,000 piece of gear. Why is everything $2,000? So then I thought, you know, it'd be nice to have a 135. You know, everybody's just been raving about these new 135s coming out for the Sony. And so I went and looked it up. The 135 G Master, brand new. Again, about $2,100. It's a lot of money. What do they figure that we have kind of a price barrier of just over $2,000? You know, we photographers who like to buy the occasional lens or upgrade to a new camera. I pick up this lens, 55 bucks, really happy with it. And I think to myself, oh, it'd be neat if I could pick up a 135 for my Sony that was $55. That's not going to happen, right? And I thought it'd be neat if I could use this lens on this camera. Now, yeah, I know a lot of you know that you can get an adapter for these lenses. A lot of people have the you know, the old Nikon lenses. Maybe they've got like an old collection of lenses that they'd like to use on their new mirrorless camera. Maybe you've got Nikon stuff and you want to use it on your Sony or Panasonic or something else. And they make adapters for you to be able to use those old lenses on your new cameras. Maybe a couple of years ago I did some research on this, and I think I read somewhere that somebody was using one of these adapters, one of the higher priced adapters, and it burnt out the circuitry in their Sony. You know, it's got these little contacts in here, and so then when you put an adapter in there and the adapter's got contacts, you know, you don't want things to crisscross and blow something out. Again, a $2,000 camera, you'd have to replace it. So that kind of, you know, got me a little skittish. Kind of got me a little like, I don't know if I want to even try that. Maybe I'll just keep buying $2,000 lenses whenever I need a new focal length. But again, after I picked this guy up and I was happy with the results on the Minolta, on the old film camera, I said, man, if I could let me just go ahead and do some more research. And so I did that, and I didn't see any more, you know, any people having problems like that, like I had seen with my original research. And as a matter of fact, I'd already used an adapter on the Sony. I used these macro extension tubes, and they've got the contacts in them, no problem. So, you know, I figured, let's see, what did I pay for these? I think I paid about $30 for these little adapters. And what they do is they use your same Sony lenses. So in other words, I could put this on my 24-70, and they're stacked up right now, but let's say I take one of these, put the lens on one side, attach it to the camera, and good to go. I have a macro lens where none existed before. Figured if that's okay, then why not go ahead and try the adapter that will allow me to use this beautiful Minolta 135 on my Sony camera. And so went on Amazon and picked up this Fotodiox adapter. It's an adapter that takes a Minolta lens on one side and it hooks into your camera on the other. And let's see, I'm just going to go ahead and show you how it works. So here's the mount. It's a Minolta mount. Go ahead and hook that up right here. I never know exactly how to, there we go. Don't know what that actually lines up with. And then this end, of course, hooks onto the Sony. And bam, a 135 2.8 on my Sony A7 III for $55, plus the adapter, which is, I believe this was $16 on Amazon. And I'm going to go ahead and I'll throw a link down below so you can check that out yourself. But yeah, and it's not like this will only work on one lens, because let's see, we'll pop this lens off. And let's say that I wanted the look of the Minolta 50mm lens. I could just pop that lens right on this adapter. And now I've got a 50mm Minolta lens as a 1.7 on my Sony A7 III. By the way, you can pick up these 50mm lenses, a pretty good one, for probably about 30 bucks. I spent about 30 bucks on 50mm before on eBay. You just got to be careful. You know, these are older lenses. You just have to make sure that you're buying from someone reputable, and that the description says, hey, it's got no fungus, no mold, no scratches or whatever. Just buy a good lens. I guess what I want to do in this video is kind of report back to you whether or not I liked it. You know, if I've experienced any problems with it or anything like that. And I can tell you, you know, that I've been pretty happy with it. I haven't experienced any problems. The camera hasn't shorted out on me or anything like that. I think it's pretty safe. And like I said, this cost me like $16, $17 for the adapter. I mean, I think you can get adapters that are a lot more expensive, but there's no jiggle, there's no weird, you know, I don't know what you'll read in the reviews, but this one works just fine. So reasons for doing this. I would say the reasons for me are that, you know, let's say that I want a 35mm focal length for this camera. Now, I can go out and buy one from Sony or from, you know, somebody else, a Sigma or something like that, for, you know, who knows how, several $100s. Or I can, you know, pick up one of these film camera lenses for, you know, probably a lot less. Let's say that I want like a super telephoto, something 200, 300mm. Same thing. You're going to spend a little more money than, you know, 55, 60 bucks for a lens when you're looking for something really long and full of a lot of optics like that. But still, it's going to be a lot less than you're going to spend buying one of the newer lenses. Now, a lot of people will tell you that it's not just about the money, right? It's also about the character of the lens. And that's just another way of saying that, you know, these old lenses, they're not like the new lenses. They're not as tack sharp. They're, you know, they've got their own little, every lens has its own personality, right? And I think that's what a lot of people who like to use these older lenses love about it. So if you buy one of these really nice, expensive lenses like this, you know what you're going to get. You're going to get something that's really sharp, and you're going to get straight ahead, good optics, right? You're going to, what you see with your eyes, you're going to more than see with one of those lenses. But with one of these older lenses, you know, you're going to get, the bokeh is going to be different. That little swirl that you get from the out of focus areas behind your subject, that might be different. Dudes, you're not buying these lenses because they're going to give you these super sharp, pristine, you know, high resolution images. You're going to buy these for the look that they give you, and you know, for the character. You know, I had an Electro, a Yashica Electro a few years ago. I started messing around with one of those, and I showed my daughter some prints from that camera, and she looked at them, and you know, it's got a certain look to it, right? And she looked at those prints and she says, "Woo, those look spooky." And I was like, yeah, because it's not like what you're getting out of these is not what you're going to get from one of the modern cameras, right? So it's a little vintagey looking, even the pictures that come out of those things. Maybe that's not so true of something like this, which is, you know, I think this lens is probably, I don't know, maybe 1980s, 1990s. So it's not going to be that dramatic, you know, that kind of weird, spooky look or anything. But it's definitely different. And I like that. I mean, that's one of the benefits of doing something like this is, you know, you're not going to get the same old thing. Now, while I did run out and shoot some test shots in the park I'm not doing a, like a film camera to digital camera comparison with the same lens, because that's not what this video is about. You can check out what I did with this lens and this camera in this other video that I'm linking to, and you can see what I did with this lens and this camera in this video in the examples that I shot. Basically, I'm pretty excited, pretty happy that I can just go ahead and pick up some lenses that are kind of in a reasonable price range. Obviously not for everybody. Some people want to go ahead and get the highest quality optics, modern optics that they can get. With something like this, there's no autofocus. You've got to manually focus these lenses. You've got to manually adjust your aperture. And as far as like actually getting things in focus, use your camera's focus peaking feature. That's what I do, because I can't always see perfectly through the viewfinder or on the screen. If I've got something perfectly in focus, especially at 2.8 or something like that. But yeah, use the focus peaking and you'll get it very, very close, if not right on target. So yeah, if you're at all interested, give it a try. I'm here to tell you that it works. I'm happy with it, and I'll be buying some more lenses for sure. Anyway, that's about it for today, guys. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for listening to my adventures with my new lens adapter. So happy. See you next time.